Hi students, welcome back to Business 301, Business Law. This is the week 1 overview video. Hey, this week we're looking at understanding the basic functions of the law, the primary sources of the law in the U.S., along with some ethical challenges that we might experience in the workplace. And then we're going to top it off with knowing the structure of the state and local court system and the federal court system as well. Again, these are just quick overviews. Make sure that you're looking and reading the chapters to get the full scope of what we're talking about. Let's look at the nature of the law. So, very basically, the law is defined as rules established and enforceable by our government, both at the federal, state, and local levels, and really is to regulate our conduct as individuals and groups in a society. And just a point of note, I know that there's a lot of conversation right now going on about defunding police. That is part of, not to be political, because you can go either way on this, of course, but defunding the police, changing the role of the police, might change how we regulate our conduct. And I don't think it would be so good. But so let's look at the legitimate functions of the law. There's 4 different quadrants there of protecting individuals, settling disputes, along with promotion of worthwhile, like social objectives and that sort of thing, along with protection of our personal property and business property and that sort of thing. All right, so that's just a quick look at the function of the law. Let's look at the primary sources of the law in the U.S. At that bottom level there, we talk about, there's the Constitution, there's the state level government, there's administrative regulations, there's statutes. The thing that you have to remember is, especially during this COVID time period, and this might date the video a little bit, but during this COVID time period, a lot of governors are issuing executive orders, and those are more statutes. That doesn't come from the constitutions necessarily, although state constitutions do allow that, of course. But the executive orders themselves are really statutes, and they will be in place for a while, then they'll be canceled or they'll be out, so they're kind of temporary. Let's see, let's look at the some of the, when you're in the workplace, you meet up against a lot of things that are just going on in the workplace. And there's a role of ethics in business. And generally, the primary goal of business is to be profitable and survive. However, profitability isn't the only measure anymore. It used to be. But now, if you remember the triple bottom line, maybe we've talked about that some in Business 101, for example. And the triple bottom line talks about how businesses need to be about 3 things now, 3 bottom lines. 1, for sure, profitability. And then 2, the environment. And then 3, some sort of social cause as well. And if a business is not about is not about all 3 of those, it might not do so well. And oftentimes, believe it or not, those end up in court, and how they're, if you're doing one and not the other, companies can be accused of things, and they end up in court trying to defend something more than just their profitability as a company. So let's look at other challenges in the workplace. So as a manager, you set a personal example in the workplace, and people are watching you. And I would say even more generally speaking as a leader. But you have to be careful with invasion of privacy, sexual harassment, your sphere of influence, like what is it, who's watching you, and then your management style. There's a lot of management styles that I grew up with back when I was a 20-something-year-old that are not, they're not even appropriate today. But yet, it's what a lot of us lived through back in the early 80s and mid 80s. Fortunately, a lot of those management styles have changed, along with a better ethical environment as well. Let's look at the structure of state and local court systems. Let's see. So the state court system, obviously in your state where you're at, in Arizona or California, wherever you're at, as well as mine in Michigan, the state constitution establishes that. And there's a whole set of, trial courts, and, they have limited jurisdiction and general jurisdiction depending on at what level the court system they're at. At the local level, there's traffic court, if you will. Minor and civil criminal cases get tried at the local level, not the state level. A lot of local courts are, authorized, if you will, by the state. But justice court, magistrates, that sort of thing. Small claims court, you may have been there. There's usually a cap. It depends on the state. I think in our community the cap is at maybe it's $1,000 now. It was like $400 or $500, but it's gone up. So you can. It doesn't take any kind of an attorney to go in there, and you state your right. You state your case before a judge, and he or she will rule in your favor or not. Then there's other trial courts as well, civil cases involving large sums of money, criminal courts, of course, all that sort of thing. A lot of this at the local level and or the state appellate level. I was involved in a court case about a year or so ago now, and it was an interesting experience. It wasn't fun, I would say, but it was interesting. And then finally, there's commercial claims court, which is similar to small claims court, but you can sue usually for a greater amount of money and that sort of thing. All right, let's look at our last topic of the structure of the federal court system. And this is kind of a busy chart. It's in your book. Make sure you check it out. But there's all these lower level original jurisdiction courts. And then the next level up is the appellate courts. And then above that are the final terminal courts that you can go to. And to the far right in the corner there is usually like your state Supreme Court. And then to the far left, well, I guess into the middle there, is the Supreme Court of the United States. Once it gets there, it's done. All right. So if they don't rule in your favor, it isn't going to happen. But anyways, check that chart out. And then the U.S. is divided up into 13 federal districts. Let me zoom in a little bit there. I live in Michigan, so I'm in the 6th district. And if you're in Arizona, your federal court is the 9th Federal Circuit Court district. So 9th federal court. Anyways, so that gives you kind of an idea of how the courts are structured together. Again, this week, make sure you're watching the devotional and checking out you're watching this weekly video, so you're good. But reminder about the discussion questions. One's due on Wednesday, your initial reply. The second initial reply for your DQ number 2 is due on Friday. And then any 3 responses got to have 5 by Sunday. Quizzes and assignments are due on Sunday night. And hey, if you want to chat a little bit, virtual office hours are at 6 p.m. held by Zoom. All right, hope your week goes great. And remember, God is on his throne. Always been there, always going to be.